Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Jenny Halpin, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Joanne Davey. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Lieutenant General Dinesh Singh Rana, Director General, Defence Intelligence Agency and Deputy Chief Integrated Defence Staff Intelligence, India, accompanied by Major General Mark Askoff, Director General of Operations Intelligence. We also warmly welcome Flight Lieutenant Richard Caesar Thwaites, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Black Rock Primary School visiting from Black Rock, Victoria. Now, if you are able, may I please invite you to stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students and those who require a seat, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant John Lane Brosnan, who was killed during the Second World War. John Brosnan was born on the 12th of August 1924 in the Melbourne suburb of St Kilda to John and Christina Brosnan. He had two sisters, Molly and Connie. Their father had served in the Boer War, and by the time John was born, his father had been promoted to Major and later Lieutenant Colonel. John was educated at the Christian Brothers Primary School and St Coleman Central School in Fitzroy before attending the Christian Brothers College and St Kevin's College in Toorak. He was an outstanding student, receiving a first-class pass in all 9 subjects during his intermediate certificate. He was Dux of the Christian Brothers College and editor of the school's magazine. After leaving school, he worked as a clerk with the Department of Supply and Development. On the 13th of October 1942, Brosnan enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force, aged 18. He was trained as a navigator and in December 1942 received his Air Observer's Badge. Early in the new year, he was made sergeant. Brosnan embarked for overseas service from Melbourne on the 29th of January 1944, arriving in the UK in February. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners and flight engineers who joined Australian and British squadrons in Britain throughout the course of the war. In England, Brosnan received further specialist training and in July 1944 he was promoted to Flight Sergeant. On the 17th of November he was posted in number 463 Squadron, RAAF. As part of Bomber Command, the squadron flew the 4-engined Avro Lancaster Hemi bombers. On the afternoon of the 4th of December 1944, Bomber Command launched a major bombing raid on the railway lines at Heilbronn in Germany. Flight Sergeant Brosnan was a navigator on board his Lancaster, which took off from the Royal Air Force Base at Waddington shortly before 4:30 p.m. In the raid, some 7,000 people were killed and the built-up area destroyed. Brosnan's aircraft had completed its mission and was on its way back from the target when it crashed, without warning, into a mountainside in Alsace, 160 kilometres southwest of the target and just over the French border. Amazingly, there was one survivor, Flight Sergeant Lyle Chessman, who was found the following day and taken to an American hospital in France. Those killed in the crash with Flight Sergeant John Brosnan were fellow Australians Flying Officer Jocelyn Waring and Flight Sergeants Robert Howell, George Groves and Robert Templeton, along with British Sergeant John Smith. They were buried at the military cemetery at Hockfield End, some 40 kilometres northeast of the crash site. After the war, the remains of Commonwealth servicemen buried in Europe were examined and identified where possible. Brosnan's body was identified by his identity discs, and he and his crew were reinterred at the French military cemetery at Charleroi. John Brosnan rests there under the inscription, "All he had hoped for, all he had, he gave to save mankind." He was 20 years old. Flight Sergeant John Brosnan's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant John Lane Brosnan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget,
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.